Oh, hello there, and welcome on to another episode of DCU Daily and Also Curious. We got off to a slight late. The timing is off. That's okay. We are here. Hello, everybody. I am, of course, your host. The most? No, I don't know. That's not the right word for it. I am Daniel. Of course, if you forgot my name, there we go. We are going to be talking about, of course, in the thumbnail, Warner Brothers is officially up for sale. They didn't. I mean. They said it in the very corporate way, but basically that's what that means. We'll get into all of the ramifications of that, what that means for the DCU, DC Studios, of course, what that means for every other part of Warner Brothers Discovery. There's a big company, potentially could be two companies before they get sold, or maybe they'll, get piecemealed out. We'll talk about all of that and so much more. Of course, we have to talk about Tron. We've got to talk about the Black Phone 2. John is on the show today. He went and saw the Black Phone 2. We'll give you guys our thoughts on that, of course. And there's a Fast and Furious movie update. So if you are here for the lore, then we've got some news for you and so much more. To do that, let's get this show started. Of course, around here we believe in being enough.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always the number two.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding. You're kidding.
I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chords.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the world needs now.
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Wow.
The lore. That's what we're here for. Whether it's Dom Toretto or Zack Snyder or James Gunn or David Zaslav, as you see on the thumbnail, to join me in the wonderful conversation around movie lore, news, and whatnot today. I've got, as always, John. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. Thought this was a good pose to come in with. Maybe weird, maybe creepy, I don't know. But here I am. Gonna adjust a little bit. The haters are already in the chat, so let's fucking go. So we're here to start. And I don't have the glasses today. They were giving me a headache. So you have no longer four eyes, John. So here we go.
Is that the beard stroking music we got?
No, it's just no beard stroking. I don't think the people in the chat deserve the beard stroking today. We'll get into that later, but I'm doing my best Lincoln Matthew McConaughey impression, or Jim Carrey doing an impression of Matthew McConaughey in the Lincoln commercials, but
All right. He said he gives you some kind of weird platitude before, riding off into the distance. All right. Okay. Honka. Okay, Caleb's here. Figure Drawing is here. JC is here. As you guys are piling into the show, of course, as always, hit the like button. We appreciate that. If you're new to the show, we are here 5 days a week doing this. DCU Daily, of course, and Also Curious. Hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when we go live, because sometimes we're a few minutes behind, like today. But with that said, John, we have a lot to get into. And yes. Right off the top, we're going to start with some actual movie talk, because after that, we got to get into a lot of, talking about like how Warner Brothers is going to sell itself off and blah, blah, blah. Before we do that, and of course, we got to talk about Zack Snyder, James Gunn, DCU, DCEU, Marvel. Before we do any of those things, John, we are here to talk about the movies. Also Curious is a place for the love of movies. And the movie in question right now, The Black Phone 2, it dialed up a $27.3 million opening weekend, $43 million globally. It's not gonna blow away any records, especially in a year when it was seemingly the year of horror movies. They made over, I think I saw a number somewhere, the ComScore put out there, they made like what, $1.2 billion. Horror movies this year have made 1.2, which is insane to think about, because that actually is the new record for the most amount of money that horror movies have made in a calendar year, I think. Crazy. As a genre which by and large is usually very profitable. Hello Monique, how are you doing? Because these movies don't usually cost as much as, say, a Marvel or a DC or Star Wars movie, which
it costs $30 million, so it's already made its money back. Just from domestic alone, it pretty much almost made entirely its money back.
No, I mean, if it in his money, of course, we talk about, like, how much a studio and all that they take home, but even if you take into account the percentage of the box office that the studio takes home, this sets them on a path to be profitable, maybe as early as second weekend, if not third. Now, Blumhouse was on a losing streak. Here we are. Blumhouse is officially, it looks like, broken that streak. Elsewhere, as they talk about in the Hollywood Reporter, the Aziz Ansari R-rated comedy Good Fortune, of course, with Keanu Reeves as an angel, playing himself basically, as he should be. And Seth Rogen, cue the laugh. Where's the laugh? I can't say Seth Rogen, but there it is. Okay. And of course, we had Tron Ares, which, basically continued to bomb. So John, let's put those other movies aside for a moment. The Black Phone 2 is what we're going to focus on. It was the new big release, a big horror picture release. It did well pretty much everywhere. And they were looking at 26 some odd million dollars worldwide as we came out of the weekend, and the Monday actuals came in, and the Hollywood Reporter was talking about 27.3 million. So it actually went up. What are your thoughts on this? You actually saw Black Phone 2. So give us maybe a quick insight, maybe a bit of a review.
Like a short review. I am part of the idea that I really liked Black Phone 2. I thought Black Phone 2 was almost as good as the original. I thought Ethan Hawke, even though he was used more sparingly this time around, was excellent. This was more about Gwen, Madeline McGraw's character, the sister of Finn, how she deals with this more spiritual idea of what she has, like her dreams meaning something. This has like a very Nightmare on Elm Street kind of vibe to it all, where it's like the grabber is like trying to, kill people in their dreams, and mainly McGraw and all of that. Mason Thames comes back, Thames, however you pronounce his name. He was excellent. He had more of like a development plot. He kind of regressed after the ending of the first movie, and then now he kind of became worse, and now he has to kind of grow again after like dealing with this like debilitating experience. And then the supporting cast, nobody really of note that I can name in terms of actors, but I really liked the character of Mando. I really liked the character of Ernesto. Those were really like well done characters. The character Mustang was also really good, even though they were used smaller and more sparingly. There were a couple other characters that were like religious zealots, and it's just like they were annoying for annoying sake, and that's fine. I thought it was a very good build-up of like the atmosphere was good. It was it was a movie that was properly paced and built upon itself. There were a couple slow moments here and there, and some of the humor was a little dodgy. Like it did have like some good humor in there, but overall I thought it was very well done, and I recommend seeing it. If you liked the first one, you'll probably like this one. But it was a very satisfying ending, and we'll talk about sequel talks a little bit later. But I think it managed to achieve what it's out of to, trying to like outdo the first one, and I think it did for the most part. But I don't think it's better than the first, but it's like I would say it's very close. It's just as good. I think both are like 9.5 out of 10 movies. So I definitely go check them out. Check it out at the theater, since there's nothing really else going on. It's the month of October, a very spooky time. So I would say go and give this a watch, because I thought it was very well done. Yeah, it's clear that he's he loves acting, and I know he did a lot of like sillier stuff earlier on in his career, but I think I think he needs to calm down with Richard Linklater a little bit. But I thought he was exceptional here. Like I think there's a lot of stuff in this movie that would have been goofy with somebody else, but the way Ethan Hawke does it, he sells it. So yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Go watch it. Kind of a short review, but I don't want to spoil anything. But I will say though, there is a point in the movie where Madeline McGraw's character calls one of the religious assholes a judgmental cunt wagon, and I will 100% be using that in my vernacular from this point on, and sanctimonious twat as well. So 100%, definitely.
That is some top tier insults work. So okay, great. Well,
hopefully I will be seeing Frankenstein at some point this week. Hopefully I'm not too late, because I know it's a very limited run. So I do hope that I will be able to see that either tomorrow or Thursday, hopefully.
Well, John, with that in mind, I just wanted to kind of put these numbers in perspective, the box office numbers, because clearly this is off to a good start. Over 27 million, 27.3, which was the actual number after Monday's totals came in for the weekend. So that actually puts it above the previous movie. The original Black Phone movie came out in 2022. It came out in the fall months. It came out actually about a month sooner, I believe. Let me actually look back actually it came out in June. All right, I guess it depends on where you were, but yeah, it was fall months. It wasn't as late as October, but that made 23.6 million. So this is overperformed on that. Now that finished up with 161 odd million dollars worldwide. Do you think the Black Phone 2 has got the legs? Will it have the legs to maybe get to and surpass that number? Because the Black Phone, the first one, came out closer to the pandemic than this one is. So in this instance, we're kind of looking at a sequel to a movie that came out post-pandemic, which is rare because a lot of times we're comparing movies that came out, the sequel comes out after the pandemic and the previous movie came out. So we're comparing it to a different era, like we talk about with Superman and Man of Steel. Here you've got a sequel coming out to a movie that came out only 3 years ago. So do you think that the Black Phone 2 can carry forward and maybe make 160 million or more?
I don't know about that, but I can see it tripling its budget, which would be about 90 million. I could see, maybe 100 million. I don't know. But the thing is, it's kind of been a very like not popular month. I mean, the next biggest movies I think are coming out in November, so I think it pretty much like the rest of October is its oyster, and it makes sense with horror season, so it works. So yeah, I think I think this could definitely make it there. I'm not sure, but it has at least a week or two to, gain all that money.
It's got a basically as good, if not a better start than the first one. So I mean, as long as people are loving it as much as they did the first, and like you said, there's not a lot of competition. However, John, speaking of the competition, let's quickly talk about. I mean, we have talked about this plenty, but I feel like it's worth another quick discussion. Tron Ares, a third Tron movie in 5 decades. There was an article in Deadline. I mean, multiple outlets were talking about it. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but they mentioned the budget for the movie, which I think we can dig into this article and find that number. But Tron Ares is apparently set to lose over $132 million. Completely run off the grid. Week 1, it flopped. Second weekend, there was no recovery. No recovery anywhere in sight. So here's the thing. John, we have talked about how Jared Leto might be the cause of this. Like he's the reason why this movie failed. But we have also mentioned how the previous 2 Tron movies never clicked with audiences in terms of just at the box office. People might have liked them somewhat. I mean, they might be cult classics, but cult classics are by definition financially not successful at the time that they come out, whether it's
Right.
a movie or a TV show. So you look at this movie, they spent roughly $220 million making this. This is in this report from Deadline. It was an exclusive. They were talking about that. And then when you look at the marketing budget, they don't really give you a number, but we can imagine. I mean, I don't think they spent 100 million marketing this. Maybe closer to 40, 50 million, even if they give you, give it a generous 75 million. All in, you're looking at roughly 300 million. This movie's not going to make that money back, not even close to it. Like we were talking about $160 million for the Black Phone 2, potentially to match or to, get to that point where the original Black Phone, how much money that movie made. 160 million is basically like if Tron Ares like kind of recovers somewhat. That's the number. Like 160 million is about what they're expecting this thing is going to make based on its current trajectory. So you do the math, it's going to lose over $132 million more or less. How big of a disaster is this for Disney? And it's one of those things where, I mean, Monique is saying it's not for everyone. It could have been. The idea on the grid in the real world is exciting. They blew it. But from somebody who's a little more on the outside looking in, my question to you, John, would be, and I'm sure you have asked a few people this question in the last few weeks, who wanted another Tron movie to begin with? And I feel like that's something that we've been trying to answer, because it's not like Liz mentioned, this movie doesn't take an idea and completely change things or revolutionizes it or ask some existential question. It's not sci-fi allegory that's trying to provide commentary on something going on in the real world. It's almost in a lot of ways like Matrix Resurrection, which was kind of there to just exist as a sequel to make money. And unfortunately, a sequel that has nothing to say, that not a lot of people were wanting in the first place, is not going to make money. I mean, it's not a Top Gun Maverick. It's certainly, not one of those legacy sequels that has caught our attention in the last few years. What do you attribute the failure of Tron Ares to? Is it just because, I mean, nobody was asking for this movie? I mean, Jared Leto is a part of it because obviously his, reputation precedes him, but I can't imagine he was the only reason. There were 2 other Tron movies that did not make as a ton of money.
I think
5 decades apart.
I just don't know what. So what I've heard is that the ideas presented here were there with what Joseph Kosinski wanted to do. Like, there were early leaks that there were the some of the ideas here. It was going to be part of a Tron trilogy that would have been started with Tron Legacy and then with 2 other movies. But then Joseph Kosinski left because creative differences, and he's like, I want to direct other things right now. And then I think that they had these ideas, and then Jared Leto pitched it as a starring vehicle. And that didn't work because apparently, according to leaks from a long time ago, now I could be getting some of this wrong. It was through a person. So I could be getting this information wrong, but apparently the Ares character, Jared Leto's character, was always planned for the follow-up to Legacy, and he would go into the real world and hunt down Sam and Cora from Legacy, and Tron himself would also come into the real world, and it's unsure what his exact role was, but it would have been bigger than it was in Legacy, since he was kind of just a henchman for the villain because he got brainwashed or whatever. And then Cillian Murphy was supposed to appear in the Tron Legacy sequel because there was a short film or a cameo in the credits where he shows up as Edward Dillinger Jr., the son of the villain of the first one, and he would have had a larger role here, and then either him or Ares were the primary antagonist while the other would be the secondary antagonist, and then by the end of the movie, Ares was going to be defeated, and then it would have been revealed that there was going to be an even larger invasion from the grid to the real world and all that stuff, and it was been this culmination phase. These were outline ideas and all of that. So exactly, that's exactly what I'm saying, what I was just going to get into. So
So essentially it was, they had these brainstorming ideas. Disney was like, it was a failure, fuck off. So Joseph Kosinski went on to make like the biggest fucking post-COVID movie of all time and said, ha. And then Disney's like, let's get the dude who ruined Pirates and the Maleficent franchises because we're dumbasses. And then Jared Leto was like, hey, I want a starring vehicle because those always do well. It's Morbin time. So essentially he was, yeah, exactly. So Ares was going to be like a secondary villain, but then Jared Leto pushed for a big starring role, how he would have been this program and he would have broken away from and all this other shit. And it's just like, yeah, it was essentially him going, and he's like, make this about me. And then it failed. And because nobody wants to see Jared Leto anymore. It's like, bro, just go back to your cult. It's fine. Have those people worship you because God knows we aren't. Yeah, it was surrounded by Korra being in the real world and with Sam and all that. So what are we? Some kind of Tronka more? Anyway. Exactly. I do think that it is mainly Jared Leto's fault. However, Tron was never a moneymaker. Sure, like the first one was revolutionary for its effects. Legacy was revolutionary for its effects. You can't really go further into effects, but they thought, okay, we'll make up for it with the story, and it didn't work because there was no story. It was just like, hey, AI bad. Okay, cool. I could have fucking told you that in a much shorter movie that didn't cost fucking $220 million. So, you know. Oh, actually, guys, we have an announcement to make. No, I'm just kidding. But it's just like the thing about the Tron movies was always the effects. And considering we're in a plateau of CGI effects because they aren't putting enough money into it and not giving them enough time to work on it, and it ends up sucking. So it's just like, all right, what's the point? Well, so I mean, it's just like the thing that you had that made the Tron movies revolutionary for their times, you don't have that anymore. So what do you have? Just a bland action movie that looks cool. Okay, cool. I mean, yeah, the shit I just took is better than Dial of Destiny. I could have told you that too.
Thank you for that amazing rant.
Anyway.
Okay, here's the thing. You just summed it up perfectly. Like, I can't say it any better. By the way, Eco, we will get into more. You know. It's there was an interesting concept in this movie, but like an interesting concept doesn't make for an interesting movie. Like, you need a story, you need characters you can relate to. There's a lot more that goes into making a successful movie. We talk about a movie like F1, which was the big summer hit this year. It seems like nowadays, you know, the summer box office is capable of sustaining, maybe you can count them on one hand, the total number of like huge hits that we can expect to see. F1 was one this year. Top Gun Maverick, we mentioned Barbie, Oppenheimer. But all of those movies had something interesting to say. You would not expect the Barbie movie to be as good as it was. It was something completely different than what most people expected, especially when you look back at its development history. And I just think in this case, it's kind of like a Jurassic World situation where they just didn't have anything interesting to say about the franchise. And in a world where, you know, the AI and all that stuff is just everywhere. I'm like, you could have said something interesting about what's going on with AI and how we move forward with that and the implications of it. But yeah, there's just it's just bland, you know. It's one of those things. It's the worst thing a movie can do is leave you, you know, feeling sort of numb, like asking for meaning. Like, all right, that's okay. Went and sat in a movie theater for a couple of hours, saw a movie. It was, I guess, you know, good for the, you know, it was visual porn, whatever. I don't know, like, okay, that's just normal porn, but like, you know what I mean, like, it's just like, it's good for the eyes, it looks pretty, but is it anything more than looking pretty? That's about it. So unfortunately, This probably is a death knell for Tron, as a franchise, at least on the big screen. Maybe they'll make like a TV movie or a TV show.
I mean, they tried two
Jared
TV shows and they
Leto-
both got canceled after
Yeah.
one season. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know about that either.
Yep. Oh, we did hear about that, JC. They are putting Stranger Things finale in theaters for the AMC for a little bit. I don't know if that's one of the quick hits, but just wanted
That
to
is
mention
one of the
here.
quick hits. So oopsie daisy. Spoiler
The,
alert.
oops, we will get into that later. But anyway, F1 knew the assignment. I mean, Top Gun Maverick, same deal. Barbie had a different audience primarily. I mean, although I saw it 4 times, and I'm sure there were many other guys who did the same. But F1.
All right, I don't want to look at
and
Jared
all
Leto's
those
ugly
movies,
face anymore, so I'm just gonna.
Whereas like Matrix Resurrection, Tron Ares, clearly, I don't know what they were aiming for. It was the worst. These are some really bad examples of. They wanted to make a sequel. The studio pushed for it. Some key people pushed for it and made it happen. Good for them. But ultimately, there's not an audience out there for it. It's kind of like the Mad Max movies. Like, I'm sorry, but nobody wants to see more Mad Max movies. They weren't very profitable to begin with. And that's why.
Same with Indiana
we saw
Jones.
Furiosa.
Indiana Jones
Exactly.
didn't rake in huge profits. That's what these companies don't realize is mainly Disney is that, we're going to pour all the money into it and that we're going to get an even bigger profit. It's like, no, you're going to have the same amount of profit plus a little inflation and you're not cheap. Why don't you understand? It's literally a win-win for everybody. You get really good talent. You produce it cheaply, which means you're not spending as much money into the product. And then here's an idea. You're going to get a good movie and you're going to get more money. How do you not realize that? Like, what? I don't understand these people. Maybe I'm just dumb. Maybe I'm just not a businessman. Maybe I just haven't lost my humanity yet, and I haven't gone down that far of an executive that just like has no trace of any morals or humanity left that I can't think like them. But like, I took a little economics and marketing in high school and college. I know a little bit. So like, I'm just saying, put cheap stuff in. You'll get and produce talent, quality stuff, and cheap stuff, and you're gonna get something good and more money. Cheap, more money.
It's
money.
Well, that's the key though. It's the whole thing of you gotta make it for amount of money where it makes business sense because you're expecting a return, and it's still got to be good. I feel like a lot of creators, a lot of storytellers, when you put them in a corner creatively and you tell them, okay, you want 150 million, do it with 100. You want 100 million, do it with 75. Those creative restrictions sometimes create make for better stories.
Thrived on creative constrictions.
Exactly.
That's why he's one of the greatest filmmakers of all time.
Yep. And the thing is, like right now, the barrier to entry on these big franchises is so high because CGI and VFX in general, the bar is high. It's not cheap to film. I mean, actors are still, the leads on some of these movies are still collecting big paychecks. So, we end up in a situation where there's just the calculus for a mid-budget Tron movie just simply doesn't exist because it needs to look as slick as at least the one that came before it. And so that means you need to make it for a certain amount of money, and then you need to make it good and needs to have something to say. I feel like this Tron Ares had the same problem as the Joel Kinnaman RoboCop movie. It was just mediocre. It had all the pieces. I mean, I was like, in an ideal world, it could have made for a really amazing movie, and it just didn't. So, but having said all that, John, I think at this point we can firmly.
All right. Also, Quentin Tarantino likes feet. Like, okay, like the man's taste is questionable. All right. Goddamn.
Fair enough. But you know what? At this point, we can mark the grave on the Tron franchise. The Black Phone 2, on the other hand, off to a great start, guys. Let us know in the comments down below which of those two movies you have seen. If you've seen both of them, let us know what you thought about both of them. Of course, are you looking forward to any of the upcoming movies, including the 2 different Frankenstein movies? We would love to hear from you in the comments down below. Right now, we're going to move on to the big story of the day. It's on the thumbnail. So this is what that's what we're going to talk about now. I know you guys are excited about it. We've got a lot of your comments already in the chat for this, but today we got the news. It was a press release from Warner Brothers Discovery, and then every outlet, including all the Hollywood, major trades as well as all the business news outlets and everybody and their mother and their grandmother and uncle and cousins and neighbors' backyard dog picked this up. John, we now know, according to Warner Brothers Discoveries themselves, they've put a for sale sign on the water tower. I mean, metaphorically speaking, they're for sale. Warner Brothers Discovery is up for sale. This is the wrong article, but like if you could go to the other one. Leading up, Caleb, thank you. I don't know if you have if the other article up, John, but we're gonna get into the whole layoffs thing a little bit later as we talk about Paramount. But the big news of the day was Warner Brothers Discovery now officially basically saying they are up for. They said, they didn't say up for sales like that directly, but that's what they said in the press release basically means as much. The board of directors who were they were primarily, you know, from the perspective of which this article was written, and we're specifically talking about the Hollywood Reporter right now, but like every other outlet picked this up. Basically what's going on, if you've already read about this, heard about this elsewhere, oh, by the way, hello Eugene in the chat. They're looking at different ways to sell the company to quote unquote maximize value for the shareholders, of course. That's what it's all about. That's what it's usually all about.
I just see this image and I'm like, that's a nice company you got there. It'd be a shame if I fucking ruined it. Thanks, Zaslav.
I don't think you ruined it. I think you and I have different perspectives on that, because I feel like Warner Brothers was on the death knell a few years ago when Discovery bought it. A smaller company, mind you, than Warner Brothers, which is kind of insane, blows my mind to this day. And they've actually turned them around. I mean, you look at where Warner Brothers is as a film studio
I know.
today.
It just
it's
God. He looks like such a. They picked the douchiest picture for this goddamn headline, so like it works.
So here's the thing, like Monique is saying in the chat, this has been an open secret for a long time. Let me set the table on this. We have heard over the last few weeks, even a couple of months, depending, I forget how long ago we originally talked about this. David Zaslav and co. have hired Goldman Sachs, have had hired Goldman Sachs. They've been working with Goldman Sachs to explore potential sale opportunities, strategic options, another way to look at it. And according to the press release they put out today, and I'm paraphrasing now because I'm not going to go through the details here, but you guys are welcome to go and look for this article online in Hollywood Reporter and read it in your own time. John, it looks like the board is looking at all different options. They're exploring either a sale of the company as a whole, or potentially, you know, a la carte with different, you know, piecemeal deals potentially. David Zaslav had a quote in this article as well, talking about he wants to find ways to, you know, maximize shareholder value, and you know they're trying to make these strategic decisions, and they have alternatives in mind, because according to Warner Brothers Discovery, they've had multiple bidders. John, multiple bidders have expressed interest. Also, they mentioned specifically, we have received unsolicited interest from parties, multiple parties. Now, here's the thing. We have talked about this for weeks. Paramount seems to be the only party that wants the whole thing. And the reason why, and they already put in a bid for $20 a share, which would have valued the company at roughly half of what David Zaslav wants. David Zaslav is looking for somewhere in the neighborhood of $70 billion, which is pretty much the same as what Disney paid for Fox. Whereas the Paramount bid would have, you know, valued them at roughly half that, like 35 billion. So having said all of that, the interesting thing about today's announcement is they're looking at ways to potentially sell the company in chunks. So we have seen in the report, I think there was a Bloomberg article, John, and I sent you a couple of links if you're able to pull these up. Bloomberg posted that, and then they also mentioned in the Hollywood Reporter that Netflix and Comcast have expressed interest as well. However, both of them are, and I think one of you guys mentioned this in the chat earlier, Netflix and Comcast are primarily, it seems like they're interested in the studio side. They want the streaming and the studio assets. They want Warner Brothers Studios. They want DC Studios, HBO, the IP. That's what Comcast and Netflix would be interested in. Paramount, I mentioned, would want the whole thing. They've, they haven't said it explicitly, but they've, basically done everything other than say it out loud. And we know that there was a bid that was denied by Warner Brothers. So, and that was like an opening salvo. You're gonna go in with a low ball offer. You're gonna work your way up. You're not gonna go in with the asking price. You never do that. That's not how negotiation works. However, given where we are today, and John, I think you have this up now. We'll get back to the Zack Snyder stuff later.
Sorry, I said not yet. Jesus Christ.
Oh, sorry, my bad. But with Warner Brothers Discovery now officially putting the for sale sign on the windows, on their front yard, on the water tower, and they're looking at pretty much all options. They're looking at potentially selling it in pieces or selling it as a whole. We've talked about things like CNN might get spun off depending on who buys it.
Don't blame me. You put it on too early.
They might. That's okay. Or like, they might obviously look to get rid of the cable networks, offload those. We know they currently still have the
because nobody gives a fuck about the cable networks.
Well, it's also because it's a dying part of the business. Like, it's a cash-rich part of the business, because anybody who subscribes to cable pays the money monthly, and they, so it's a cash-rich business. But it's a business that's dying. So we know their plan is to split the company in half, basically in half, with a lot of the debt going with the cable network.
Said that months ago. Zaslav said that months ago.
So. With Discovery Plus and the streaming service. Zaslav would stick around as the CEO of the new Warner Brothers, which would include HBO and Warner Brothers Studios, New Line Cinema, DC, and all that. DC Studios and everything else. So my question to you, John, would be, at this point, with this particular announcement, and they're kind of like saying out loud, the silent thing out loud, the unsaid thing is now being said, that yes, we are available to be solicited for sale. What do you think becomes more likely? Because I feel like all of this was going on in the background anyway. Why make it public now? There must be a reason why they're going public with this, because my hunch on this is David Zaslav, for all his trying, has not been able to get a bidding war started. And I feel like this now is potentially a move with a bidding war in mind on the part of David Zaslav and the board of directors. And with that in mind, John, do you think this makes it more likely that they go ahead with the split and then sell the two halves separately? Or do you think they still want to do it all together?
I think so. I think what they are going to do is essentially take all the important stuff that Zaslav was talking about, like the film, the TV, all that shit, like it kind of says here, that's all going to be sold off to someone. And then pretty much everything else is just going to be stripped for parts. Like the cable networks. I think this one also said it towards the end here, where it's right here. Which will keep its studios, HBO, and HBO Max in one bucket, led by Zaslav, and boot its basic cable channels, Turner channels, and Discovery channels, and Streamer Discovery Plus to a new company led by current Warner Bros. Discovery Chief Financial Officer Gunnar Weidenfels. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So that's like kind of, I think it's like we're gonna get the main stuff, like with like HBO Max, HBO, DC, Warner Brothers, New Line, whatever the fuck else they own. And then that's going to be kind of sold off to somebody else, which what it says here, that part of the company, but all the other stuff, that's probably going to be sold off to this company, that company, or they're just going to be like closed, discontinued, whatever the wording is entirely, because nobody cares about cable anymore.
Yeah.
Thus having less options for news and shit, which is certainly troubling, but controlling the narrative, they've been doing that for years. So,
it's here's what I think. It's not a guarantee that they'll have the company split in half by 2026. They're aiming for April 2026, but that requires a lot of regulatory approvals and everything for that to go through. Paramount just brought in the marketing chief that Warner Brothers fired not that long ago as their marketing chief, they also have, very administration friendly legal counsel and everything. So I think Paramount are looking at this their sweet deal offer as something of a shortcut move to try to get the whole company, and then they can get rid of the pieces they don't want. And getting the company split in half is not as simple. I mean, not Warner Brothers, NBC Universal just did this with Comcast. They just split NBC Universal assets, so they're spinning off a lot of the cable networks as Versant.
Yeah, I think the earlier one said that
they mentioned that. Yep.
Yes,
it's happening towards the end of this year, I believe. They've already kind of put all the pieces in place, right? So this wouldn't be one of those things where it hasn't happened before. It's certainly got there's a precedent.
There's already a precedent for it.
Exactly. So it wouldn't be unprecedented. Now Versant had their CEO has mentioned, or their to-be CEO has mentioned, that they might position themselves to buy other networks to consolidate and therefore basically try to gain a bigger foothold in the market. So that could be a situation where Versant could go and buy Discovery Global and get even more sports rights, because a lot of the sports rights that Warner Brothers Discovery currently has will go.
I don't think so. I don't think they'll break apart that because they saw how that worked with Spider-Man and X-Men, and I don't think they'll do that because that would mean less money for them. So,
and we'll get into that more in a little bit. But as far as the mechanics of this, look, I'm going to read between the lines and say this is a move on the part of Warner Brothers Discovery to be like, okay, we tried to do this behind the scenes. We weren't, getting enough interest or the kind of interest we wanted. So here we go. Now it's public. And so now there's no, gray area about this. So I look at this announcement as more of multiple parties for all or part of the company. We have seen all the reporting from behind the scenes the last few weeks. There's only interest in the whole thing from one company.
By the way, this is the full press release.
The full press release, yeah. And you can see that the board of directors, David Zaslav had a comment and such. They've got some good assets. Warner Brothers Studios has had the best year of any studio so far. They're the highest grossing studio so far. Avatar will probably and Zootopia and everybody is going to help Disney, ultimately probably cross the finish line at the top of the pile again. But Disney is Disney. Warner Brothers was in the dumps. Warner Brothers is now back. DC Studios is doing great. New Line Cinema is doing amazing with their horror, movies and stuff. So it's working well for Warner Brothers right now. Their marketing team, which partnered with Apple on F1, is probably the best in the business. And so you look at their wins, and they've got Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdy locked up for a few years. I think they've got a lot of assets, if you want to call it that. They just they announced a hike in their subscription for HBO Max from $1 to $3 a month, depending on which tier you're on. That's going to burn a few extra holes in my wallet. So, but John, speaking of Apple, of the many parties, we talked about Comcast, we talked about Netflix. They just want the studios and the IP. And they're going to probably dismantle HBO Max. Paramount wants the whole thing. Anthony was talking about this, and Anthony, this is a good time to bring this up. And actually, let's take a look at his comment here. He was talking about how Tim Cook has sort of mentioned the idea of Apple expanding. Apple actually just raised their prices by 30% on Apple TV Plus.
There's also a story in Quick Hits that kind of goes over that, so we'll talk about that there.
We'll talk about that more later. So Apple is making moves to expand their presence in the world of, movies and television shows, entertainment in general.
Well, that's not totally 100%. Universal hasn't even been mentioned in terms of the multiple parties. It's Comcast, Netflix, and Paramount are the only ones that have publicly been interested in the company. Paramount, Skydance already made a bid, and at least according to this, Netflix and Comcast are interested in the studio side. So
this came from a Bloomberg article, and there's actually a second part to this where they linked the article from Bloomberg. So yeah, Apple, I feel like, are the only other company, if they were to come in and get here's the thing though, Apple, I don't think they're gonna want the whole thing either. I think if Apple wants anything, they're gonna want the studio and they're gonna want the streaming stuff, like Netflix, like Comcast, because for one, Netflix and Apple don't need to get into the cable business. They don't have. I don't think they have any desire to do that. They have not shown the propensity to do any of those things.
Honestly,
So-
I don't know. I'm not familiar with
But-
business stuff, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, but
I don't
with,
think
with
it's
that
a
said,
definite no that a lot of people are claiming it to be, but I don't think like Gunn is 100% safe either. So
yeah.
it's kind of just up in the air until this goes further down the line.
So speaking of which, let's dive into that. If you want to, if you can click into that image, since we're now gonna, let's talk about DC, right? I mean, Warner Brothers has franchises. They've got Game of Thrones. You've got House of the Dragon running. They got a new Game of Thrones show running soon. You've got DC is the crown jewel. David Zaslav has mentioned it many times. Of course, you've got many other things like the Wizarding World with Harry Potter, the new show that they've invested heavily into. They're expanding in the process of expanding the Leavesden sound stages in London, outside of London.
I don't even know what Sundance is. What does Sundance own? I don't know why Sundance.
Sundance is the film festival that Robert Redford talked about. But
Okay,
Sundance
I know
wouldn't
that.
buy
Are
Warner
they
Brothers.
a film studio? Are they a company?
No. They're more of an. No, I don't. No, I don't know. I think he means Skydance. He's referring to Skydance instead. He's writing
okay, because
Sundance.
I was like, you keep mentioning Sundance. I was like, what are you talking about?
So
anyway, okay.
So Anthony's asking basically. Okay, we're gonna talk about what this means for DC now, right? Because that's the big question. Warner Brothers Discovery is up for sale for the third time in 5 years, if I'm doing my math correctly, because they were sold, or second time, third time, whatever. Like they were sold from AT&T to Discovery, then now they're being sold from Discovery to whoever else wants to come in and take over. Clearly, it seems like, I think at one point, when David Zaslav and company came in, they wanted to build something out. I think over time they realized they pivoted a little bit with the whole HBO Max rebranding and then going to Max and then back to HBO Max, deciding to kill a lot of the family friendly programming and be like, we're going to just make more adult oriented HBO stuff. That's what HBO is. That's what they've been trying to do here. Of course, reestablishing DC as a force, and then, expanding the Game of Thrones franchise, the Wizarding World. All of that was done, it seems like, in hindsight, to eventually maybe sell the company. They still have a lot of debt. But John, let's talk about DC. A lot of you guys in the chat wanting to figure out, like, we got some explaining to do. What now? What now for DC? Let's talk about this for a moment. I know we've talked about it at length multiple times, but DC went through, if this was 2023, DC was in a moment of transition. At a time in transition, they had 4 movies pretty much flop. I think Aquaman 2 barely crossed the line as profitable, but more or less, it wasn't a good year for DC at the movies. Like 2 movies lost over $100 million at least. Now you fast forward to 2025. I mean, even last year, Joker Folia 2 lost a shit ton of money for Warner Brothers. So now we get to Superman. Superman, it wasn't the most profitable movie, but it was the highest grossing film of the year, and it was profitable. It did not lose money. It made money at the box office, enough to eke out a small profit.
Even though a lot of people claim it didn't make money, but
yeah,
it did make money.
Superman did not lose money. Superman actually made a profit at the box office, and since then, it's become one of the highest watched movies on streaming, one of the highest, the most rented movies when it was just on digital before it came out on streaming. A lot of people have been buying the steelbooks. You've seen that there. So yeah, we debunked the whole Forbes thing, because Forbes was basing it off the idea, Bass, that 50% of the box office goes to the studio and 50% to the theaters. That is simply not true. The studios keep roughly 70%. That's a rough number, because each studio has a different agreement with each distributing partner, a la AMC, a la Regal, a la Cineplex, and blah, 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 blah. So, the numbers are different. And also in China, for example, you get to keep roughly 25% for the studio, whereas in most other countries, the number is closer to 65 to 70%. It was just bad reporting on the part of Forbes. And I just don't understand how that made, such big headlines.
I think it was just, because Forbes is usually very good, like a very good source in terms of money. Yeah. That's like the fucking economics, like, magazine, like, the whole thing of like Forbes was all about the economics and money of it all. The fact that they made such a like
It was a
they face
really
planted was
bad
amazing.
article.
But I think the only reason it may turn out because you have people that have such a gigantic hate boner for this universe that they're like, oh, see, it failed. But they just see the headline and they don't read and they don't actually fucking break it down. So that's the thing. So that's essentially what it is. So in regards to this, but it's just in regards to DC, we're not totally 100% sure. We're not experts. We don't have precognition. We don't know what's going to happen to these companies. Now, in terms of like, oh, there's literally nothing for sure. Now, considering that James Gunn, as opposed to what others have said, he essentially took a broken brand that had essentially 5 flops in a row into something that was pretty profitable. So it's, it's just kind of, I'm not saying they put it online. It was just bad reporting. And then people who didn't like it ran with it. Fucking listen when I fucking talk, okay? How about that? God damn. Anyway, so the whole basis of this, we don't know for sure. Oh, he's 100%. Now he could get axed. He could. We don't fucking know. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I have all the fucking answers. Like, Jesus, goddamn Christ.
Hey Yash,
Thanks,
by the way,
Yash.
one of our
Really
members.
Appreciate that.
Hello.
God damn, it's just
some geeky guy. I think you were addressing the whole James Gunn thing. Does the marketing budget count in the film production budget? No, just some geeky guy. That's usually a separate number. They don't usually publicize that much. So
Right.
Usually we just know the budget, but
I'll
generally
be fine.
speaking,
It's just
we are able to
people
find
who
that out.
listen to me when I talk. That's all.
Right.
Also, that sounds delicious, Stephen. I wish I had your turkey sandwich.
Okay. But the whole thing of if the deal goes through, here's the thing, Justin Geeky Guy. If the deal goes through, could mean a lot of things, right? We just mentioned, John, if you go back to one of those articles, they talked about, there's multiple bidders or multiple parties interested in part or the entirety of the company. Meaning there might be companies out there, potentially other studios that want, I don't know, just the movie studios. And we have talked about that. We have talked about Comcast, and which would be NBC Universal, where the Fast and Furious franchise, Jurassic World, and everybody is, all the Despicable Me movies. They don't have any comic book presence right now, so they would get DC all of a sudden. Netflix certainly could add to their house of IP, which is not that deep. Then we can look at a situation where, of course, if Apple comes in, they would be kind of starting from scratch. I think Apple buying Warner Brothers, the Warner Brothers after the split potentially would be the best path forward, because Apple would likely just leave a lot of the people in place because they've had an amazing experience with F1 being marketed and distributed by Warner Brothers. So all of that said, I feel like Apple to me might be the best suitor here, because if they bring, all of a sudden get their hands on Warner Brothers Discovery, which they have plenty of money to spare after they spend all the money in the world to get them, they will likely just leave DC as is and HBO as is and let the people do their job, because there's a lot of good people helping Warner Brothers and Discover and DC Studios have a lot of success this year. And in recent times, quite frankly, it's been on the up and up. If you look at everything, it's been coming up good for Warner Brothers this year so far. They've been doing well on TV. They've been doing well
most likely they're in the race. So yeah.
Paramount is definitely in the race still, because Paramount Skydance came in with a first offer. It's one of those things when you go in the world of sports. If you guys are, whether you're a fan of American sports, European soccer, usually when you go in to negotiate for a player, whether it's for a trade or to do a transfer, you don't put your best offer up front. So Paramount's first offer was pretty much for roughly half the value of what David Zaslav wants for Warner Brothers Discovery. He wants closer to $70 billion. He got an offer of closer to $30 billion. Now, granted, Warner Brothers still has tens of billions of dollars in debt, so all of that has to kind of get added into the ultimate price tag. And we know Paramount Skydance is looking. I think they were talking to Apollo, was one of the equity firms like that they were talking to. to bring in, because they would need even, you know, some assistance from an equity, like from a fund, you know, an equity fund like that, to bring in a few more $1 billion more to ultimately do the deal. But yeah, I think outside of Paramount, none of these other, you know, interested parties, like the whole thing of multiple parties want either part of the whole thing. I think there's only one party that wants the whole thing. That's Paramount Skydance. Everybody else wants pieces of it. And I feel like the only party potentially that wants the cable networks and everything else that's going to get spun off of Discovery Global potentially next year, the only party would be Versant. And they don't actually exist yet. So now, having said all that, John, let's just go down the hypothetical road. We'll go down 2 different hypothetical roads. Let's start. Hunter is here. Hello. So speaking of Hunter, asking about what will happen if Paramount buys into it. So yeah, Justin Geek, I agree with you on the whole private equity firm. They should not even be allowed to exist. But anyway,
a lot of things shouldn't exist, but here we are.
But if Paramount, for example, buys Warner Brothers Discovery, we talked about David Ellison he's not micromanaging anybody at Paramount, but he's taken a very heavy-handed approach at replacing a lot of the leadership. Now again, Paramount wasn't a burgeoning studio that was like, you know, re-emerging Phoenix from the ashes, the kind of narrative that's been, you know, surrounding Warner Brothers with the moves they've made of late, with DC Studios as well. I mean,
speaking of replacing leaderships, we are talking Paramount. Let's just quickly get this out of the way, and then we can go back. And
again, it's part of like their strategy would be, because they already have a backlot in Hollywood. They've already got a lot of the overhead that would be overlapping with what Warner Brothers has on their sound stages and their backlot. If Paramount buys in, they will, much like they're doing right now with the mass layoffs starting in October 27th, like you're seeing here on the screen, they will lay off a lot of people because there'll be a lot of redundancies, John. But if Paramount were to come in, do you think it's more likely that David Ellison is going to go in and start to maybe swap out certain people, such as a James Gunn for DC Studios, or a Casey Bloy for HBO, with the people that they have, or merging divisions, because their TV division would likely merge with HBO's division. Their TV division is run by, I think, former head of Netflix's TV division, and now, of course, like, those two people don't want to, you know, be reporting to each other, because that would feel like a demotion. So one of them would survive. I feel like that's the scenario where James Gunn is more likely to, you know, either get replaced or be in a situation where, you know, he could say the wrong thing and Paramount might be like, oh, you know, we'll sacrifice the one person.
We'll pull a Jimmy Kimmel, but you're not coming back. So, you know,
or more like a Stephen Colbert who did get canceled. He's working his way up to that at this point, but. Whereas I feel like if Apple were to come in, because I feel like Apple is the only one, because look, Comcast has NBC Universal, meaning they have Universal. They already got a backlot. So they're probably going to sell off a lot of, you know, the physical studio assets that Warner Brothers has. Netflix has a lot of production spaces. Maybe Netflix keeps a few things around, but Netflix wouldn't want the TV networks. Netflix would probably just be in there for the IP. The one thing I would worry about with Netflix is everything goes to streaming. I don't really care for, you know, seeing DC movies that go primarily onto Netflix. I don't really care for, I don't know, everything Harry Potter going to Netflix. I don't want the next trilogy of Lord of the Rings movies they're making to go straight to Netflix, or just be playing in movie theaters for 2 to 3 weeks. That completely changes the amount of movies. Like, you're going to be removing a couple of dozen movies from the theatrical calendar every year, because Netflix does not do that. Whereas if you look at Apple's made a commitment. I feel like Apple would be able to finance, you know, not only doing what they've already said they want to do with their slate, but maybe potentially doubling it, because they've got the money to spare. Who would be your pick at this point? You know, who would be the potential bidder that you would want to come in and take over? And would you want them to go the split route and take only the studio and streaming side, and whatever happens with the TV side happens? Or would you want somebody like a Paramount to buy the whole thing?
So here's the thing. If I had my choice, I'd be like, WB ain't getting sold off, and it's just gonna keep trucking along. For me, I would probably like the company that would be, and the decision, whatever decision they make, would be the least amount of like poison for the company, would be probably Apple. along with like the whole company. That would be, I think, the best case scenario. However, I don't think that's the case. I think it is going to get split up, and I think the cable companies, they're either going to be like sold off to other companies, discontinued entirely, just stripped for parts, all that stuff. It's just like the main thing that WB owns, which is HBO, DC, New Line, obviously Warner Brothers itself. I think Apple would get that. And the thing is, Apple doesn't. And the thing is, Apple is kind of a best case scenario because they still release stuff in theaters. Look at F1. F1 was a fucking ginormous, monstrous hit.
I mean, and they partner with different studios for different movie releases.
For distribution, and Warner Brothers distributed that movie, and look how much money they got for Apple.
It's the only movie they released theatrically that's been profitable, and not just profitable. It was like a legitimate, bona fide summer blockbuster, which Apple has been trying now.
With
for like
all
3
of that,
years.
I would want Apple, because the thing is, with all these other companies, Skydance owns Paramount, Comcast owns NBC Universal, kind of, sort of. Like, I know there's like technicalities with that, but there's that. Amazon owns MGM. Sony owns Columbia. Like, all these old school like studios, they're either gone or whatever. So like, Apple's the only one that doesn't own another company. Do I want that? No, but like, it's better than them going to fucking Netflix or anything like that. Like, in terms of the three that have offered biddings, Comcast would be the least terrible. It would still be bad. Apple is still the best case scenario, but like, I'm not holding my breath. So, yeah, I think, I don't know. I think we've said all that we've needed to be said for this. So, I think we might want to move on. Dan, I don't know if you want to move on.
Yeah, I think at this point, the only wild card would be Disney. I know some of you guys were talking about it. Like, imagine if Disney comes in with some kind of like last minute. I mean, the Disney, I don't think they've quite recovered from their buying of Fox. Like, that deal, still they're balancing their books. They're still trying to get above water with that. So they just don't have money sitting around, enough money to buy Warner Brothers, whether it's before or after the split. So I think it's more likely going to be, if it is Paramount for the whole thing, Apple and Amazon have the money. It just depends on who has the interest and the patience, because the bidding war isn't going to happen today. It's not going to happen until after this. Why don't you wrap this up, and we'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah. So that is it for the whole thing in regards to that. So let's move on to bigger and brighter news, something that hopefully won't have people in a tizzy, and that's MCU side of things. Let's go to the MCU side of things. We mainly talk about Brand New Day, because who doesn't want to talk about Spider-Man? So let's talk about Spider-Man. So now, the first things, and you're going to need to get your glasses for this one, because George Costanza has a point with this one. You're going to need the glasses here because you can barely see this. But apparently Mark Ruffalo was on the set of Spider-Man Brand New Day, which fuels the rumors that Hulk will have a major role in the film. But you're going to need to enhance that. And I don't know how much you can enhance with that. Enhance. George Costanza might have a point. Enhance. So there he is. You can barely tell it's him, and it's like grainier than the fucking like JFK footage and the Bigfoot footage, but it's there. You can kind of see it. So Mark Ruffalo is seen on Brand New Day set, so that's definitely interesting. I know everyone's talking about the whole Disney thing in regards to WB, but yeah, I think exactly. I don't think Netflix, because the thing with Netflix, everything would go to streaming, and I don't want everything to go to streaming. That's what we all hope for. In terms of recasting stuff, that's who I want to be fucking recast. But That is it's exactly. Like you could barely tell that that's Mark Ruffalo, but he is there. You can kind of see it. George Costanza right here is, That's why I had to put my glasses on for this one because you could barely see. I love how like the two people got that, but yeah. So this isn't the only brand new day stuff that we have for you, but apparently there is a teaser trailer date rumor in regards to this, and with the other set photos circulating online. I'm gonna clean my glasses because these are really gross. But so apparently, in regards to all of this, there are apparently rumblings. Trailer Track tweeted that the teaser trailers might be, or Matt Ramos said, and Trailer Track did a story. I'm thinking we get our first show for brand new day at the Super Bowl. Hearing rumblings that might be sooner and in front of Avatar Fire and Ash, just like a teaser for the Odyssey. When it comes to Avengers Doomsday also getting a teaser in front of Fire and Ash, it's still possible as reported earlier this month. Now, we did cover that very briefly, that Doomsday is going to get a teaser in front of Fire and Ash, but it seems more likely that now it might be Spider-Man, since that's coming out next and sooner. So obviously we'll have to see, but these are the rumblings and tumblings of the Spider-Man next Spider-Man film. So exactly. Yeah. But in regards to Ruffalo Full Silver Fox, then Doomsday for Super Bowl. Yeah, I'm willing to bet that we're probably going to get Spider-Man for this. But here are a couple more Unbox PhD. We have a couple more in regards to this. Jesus Christ, I don't want an ad for fuck you, YouTube, for making fucking kissing your ass to fucking advertisers, losers. Anyway, so now let's get back into that. So here is Spider-Man getting lifted by a crane. Obviously, we won't showcase all of that, but there is a practicality to it all. So, and that's a very wonderful image to stop on. But that's not all. Apparently, after Spider-Man has gone to this building, Irving House, Sadie Sink's character enters the building. So, we have Tom Holland. There he is as Peter Parker. And it's been reported that Sadie Sink is actually playing like the Punisher sidekick. I forget what her name was, but there's a redheaded Punisher sidekick, quote unquote, that might be who Sadie Sink is playing. But now we get even more set photos. Obviously, this is, hold on, let me see if fucking ad will play. But these were something that was showcased, is Sadie Sink in like this with Destin Daniel Cretton, and big green overcoat, kind of just wearing regular clothing. So that's certainly something. But we don't know. We don't know 100% what character she's playing, but looks like it already got taken down. Interesting. So we do have TikTok. So this was the image that was showcased before. Here it is on TikTok. You can kind of sort of see his face a little bit, but that's kind of it. But we're not gonna spend too much time on that. Honestly, I would fucking like unironically love it if Doom said I hate you 3000. No joke. Exactly. That's fair. People still think she's Maddie Parker. I miss Micro. Yeah, I do too. But he's the thing now, so they're not gonna bring him back. So R.I.P. to the Micro ever appearing again in the MCU. But yeah, that is about it for the MCU side. So we got a lot of set photos. We got maybe a teaser, a hopeful teaser, promising release in terms of Before Fire and Ash, got A View of Sadie Sink, Mark Ruffalo, all that stuff, and we got Spider Cheeks. So that is it for the MCU side of things. And now let's do something a little bit more quick, guys. Gonna get into those quick hits. So these quick hits will actually be quick. So, you know, I think oh my god, why are there some? I just want a Spider-Man movie. I'm getting Superman Legacy flashback. That is true. So, you know, at least Punisher is more street level. Hulk is why Black Widow? Why? Anyway, that's beside the point. Anywho, she can be Mayday and a 616 character at the same time. Interesting, but we're not going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Glenn Powell. Apparently, Glenn Powell needed Stephen King's approval to star in The Running Man. I had to wait for him to watch Hitman and hope that I still had a role in the morning. I didn't think he needed to be worried. He's got the natural charisma needed to be a leading man, so I think that's yeah, fuck. Tyrone Magnus can fucking suck my nuts. All right, I'm surprised that loser still has a fucking audience. Anyway, but Glenn Powell, I don't think you needed to worry, but I can't wait for The Running Man. And I like how Stephen King has more like to do in terms of his adaptations, because after years of like getting shitty adaptations, he's like, I need to have more of a role here. So I'm glad he has some control over what's getting adapted and who is going to appear in it and what the writing is going to be. So I appreciate that. He is the GOAT, even though his last movie was kind of not the worst thing ever. Just Last Night in Soho was So yeah, pretty much. But next up, but this is what we were talking about before with like Apple TV wanting to have more of a substantial role and stuff, but this was more like on the sports side of things. So after a vibrant rebrand, a major bundling pact with NBC Universal and a blockbuster $750 million deal to nab Formula One from ESPN signals a new effort for the tech giant to put its imprint on Hollywood. Now, this is a lot to talk about, but this is kind of like a quicker thing because we already talked about Apple a lot, so we put it here. But we already talked about how Apple had Formula One and how they got Formula One from ESPN, and after the success of the movie, so now they're kind of doubling down on the whole F1 thing. And now it seems like, I mean, what Anthony was saying in the chat, Tim Cook has wanted Apple to be more involved in like the bigger Hollywood streaming showcase, the bigger Hollywood showcase in addition to streaming. So there's that as well. WB Max presented by Apple. Pretty much. But I think this is great to see. Hopefully Apple can actually fulfill their promises and we'll get something good outside of not just having the F1 rights, but now having, you know, a bigger impact on the Hollywood landscape. That was the word I was looking for. Yeah, they try to be. I mean, look at Severance. Look at For All Mankind. Look at Slow Horses. So, you know. But next up, apparently Walton Goggins joins Amber Midthunder in action movie Painter. James Cameron executive producing, but apparently Derek Kolstad, who is the creator of the John Wick franchise in terms of writing it, wrote the script for the project, which has been picked up by 20th Century Studios. I'm excited for this. I love Walton Goggins. I love Amber Midthunder. James Cameron, hit and miss in terms of producing stuff, but Derek Kolstad, he's a great writer, so I think this would be pretty awesome. So I don't know what the fuck this is about. What does it say what it's about? So Garrett Warren, a veteran stunt coordinator who has worked with Cameron, a painter centers on a young woman trained from a young age who must employ every skill in her arsenal to rescue her father after he's kidnapped. Midthunder, who starred in 20th Century's Predator movie, is playing the young woman. Goggins will play the father. So it's pretty much run-of-the-mill, another revenge thriller story. But if it's as innovative as the John Wick franchise, then I think we're in good hands. Hopefully it's just better than Ballerina. You can be kind, rewind. We already talked about that at length, so feel free to do that. Was he in I thought it was Hateful Eight. He was definitely in Hateful Eight, but did he also have a role in Django? I don't remember that. But yeah, this is very exciting. But Chloe Coleman apparently is joining Brandon Sklenner in Taylor Sheridan penned action movie not associated with the Yellowstone universe. FAST, Fast, the Warner Brothers movie, is now in production. So, yeah. So, Ben Richardson, the main director of the 1923 show and a renowned movie cinematographer, and his owner, is helming the feature along starring Brandon Sklenner. Fast concerns a former Special Forces commando down on his luck after he returned stateside, who was tapped by the DEA to lead a black ops strike team against CIA-protected drug dealers in his town. Sklenner is playing the commando. And it's also apparently going to star Lakeith Stanfield, Jason Clarke, Sam Claflin, and Trevante Rhodes. So, and Coleman is apparently going to be playing the Brandon Sklenner's daughter. So this, if this gets made, I'd love to see this. This sounds pretty awesome. But next up, we have Jeremy Allen White teasing Mandalorian and Grogu. Apparently, Rada can move quickly. Yeah, so a lot of people were asking, hey, is this fat ass right here actually going to be able to move like, you know, his uncle, Jabba the Hutt? And you know, don't worry, he can move fast. He's just a bit broader, but still like a Hutt. It's kind of like him and the Mandalorian running around for a lot of the movie together. So Rada can run, Rada can move quickly. Yes. I can't take that name seriously. I just think of Schnitzel from Chowder, just like Rada. Anyway, Rada, like a baby, we were born to run. I'm shocked he didn't use that. Come on now. Yeah, Jonah Hill was in it for a hot second. I didn't realize he was in Django Unchained. Now I gotta rewatch it. Anyway, but yeah, this is probably gonna be donkey shit, but like, you know, it's okay. Jeremy Allen White can afford a couple stinkers. But next up, apparently Wicked for Good casts Coleman Domingo as the Cowardly Lion. There was a lot of like rumors that Jack Black was gonna play him. I don't know if those were true or not, or just like kind of internet memes, because Jack Black has kind of been in not great stuff as of late. So, but apparently Coleman Domingo is going to be cast as the Cowardly Lion. So that's pretty awesome. That's pretty cool. Love to see it. I mean, I wish it was a better role than that, but hey, we love Coleman Domingo in this house, so you know, that's cool. Anywho, but next up we have apparently Kennedy family drama series ordered at Netflix. Michael Fassbender to play Joseph Kennedy Sr., a Brit playing an American. Love it. But like, from what I know of Joseph Kennedy Sr., he was an absolute fucking monster of a human being. So like, seeing anything based on this would certainly be really interesting. So I'm very curious about this, and I might actually watch it if it gets good reviews, that is. Yeah, the Mandalorian and Grogu is coming out next May, I think. I don't know. I don't remember. But yes, vomit. Mandalorian and Grogu, vomit. But also Joseph Kennedy Sr., vomit, because he's a piece of shit. So, you know, I'm very curious about this. But speaking of true stories based on real life, apparently a Rocky biopic image was released with the actor playing Sylvester Stallone running on the beach with his dog. But this is a first official look at Anthony Ippolito.
This looks uncannily accurate.
Yes. Ippolito, I don't know. Even as someone who's half Italian, I don't know how to fucking pronounce that. Nothing bad ever happened to a Kennedy.
And Anthony Ippolito?
But yeah, that would be interesting though. But yeah, a Kennedy succession show, essentially. That would be. I wonder if it's gonna have an episode where Joseph Kennedy puts his daughter into an insane asylum because she was hysterical. So yeah, that would be fun. But yeah, next up, Weapons. Quick thing about Weapons is that it's officially getting an HBO Max streaming premiere date, and it is going to be on October 24th, just a week before Halloween. So this Friday. So if you wanted to watch Weapons in time for Halloween, boom, and you have HBO Max, boom, there you go.
John, actually, I think they're gonna put it on HBO. Like, if you still have old school HBO on cable, I think the 25th it's gonna have its premiere on HBO.
There it is.
So,
boom.
So you can, obviously you can stream it, but you can also watch it at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Watch it on Saturday, the 25th at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So yeah, awesome. Yes, Weapons is fantastic. Please watch it. But yeah, next
horror
up,
thrillers, maybe not, but otherwise, yes.
but next up, something that might excite you, Dan, is the X-Files reboot. Helmed by Ryan Coogler, but he addresses some things and among updates. So he essentially has talked about how the show is very personal to him because he and his mom watched it when he was younger, and his mom is a huge fan of the show. So when he told her, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking reboot this show, she's like, fuck yeah, let's go. I
mean, my
Coogler
mom
said,
was a huge the reason I became a fan of the X-Files is because my mom was a huge fan of the X-Files.
So boom, you got something in common. There you go. Now this is one of the few like reboots I would actually be all for because Ryan Coogler is fucking awesome. So
and you know what? Also,
yeah,
this is one of those things where remember
he
Jordan,
also said he
I don't
can't
know, John,
confirm or deny if Deadweiler is in the show or not. So
yeah, because there was a rumor about that. They were considered Danielle Deadweiler, but I was gonna say they haven't announced whether David Duchovny or Gillian Anderson are coming back. Like none of that announcement stuff has happened yet. It looks like this is still in the early stages.
everyone was in the X-Files back in the day. Every fucking buddy.
Everybody.
Like, come on now.
Have you seen a young, chubby Ryan Reynolds in the X-Files? Because
I mean, have you seen white
episodes.
supremacist Bryan Cranston in the show?
Yeah,
like,
I have. It's
I remember when I was
crazy.
watching that, and I was watching Supernatural at the same time, and all the same people that were in Supernatural were in X-Files fucking 20 years ago. So it's just like seeing all these guys. It's like, oh, that guy, Mark Shepard, Mitch Pileggi, like all these guys. I'm like, whoa,
God,
hey.
Mitch Pileggi. Loved him in Star Wars too. Also, yes, they did do a revival. It was a couple of seasons. It was pretty good. I actually liked it. It wasn't like the original, but it was okay. I liked it. And we got Fiona, one of our amazing members, and the chat moderator in there already sending us all the super bulge emojis, which are one of the benefits of being a member. I will say this.
I
This
can't
was a
see
great
them.
comment.
It just comes up as
Enterprising.
OSC Super Bulge.
Well, you gotta be on YouTube. It's the bulge, John. There's a super bulge. There's the bulge. There's a
There
a
it is.
family
Now I see
one
it.
as
Now
well.
I see it. Okay.
Yush is a member. Fiona is a member. We got Ghost Swifty as a member. Anyway, great point by Enterprising. I trust Ryan Coogler much more to handle the X-Files than I did Jordan Peele to do the Twilight Zone, because
I don't think Jordan Peele wrote. I think he just produced.
Just okay.
I think he was just the narrator though, wasn't he?
But he was a producer on it. Like he was the
Okay,
man,
was he a
like
producer?
creative
I don't
force behind it. But it's kind of like Rod Serling. Remember, Rod Serling was the producer, the main, like the voice of the show, as well as the creative force behind it. Like I don't know if you want to call him a showrunner.
A little bit, unfortunately.
But yeah, I just think that Jordan Peele's resume never appealed to me in the way that Ryan Coogler's does to take on a franchise like this. That's all I want. It just, the X-Files is like that's like, you know, holy water territory. Like you if you're gonna touch it, you better make some really good stuff out of it. Otherwise, it's not worth it. Like leave it be.
But another thing that Dan will definitely really love is apparently there has been an update in regards to Fast and Furious, but Fast and Furious 11, which is the 11th movie that remains unnamed, which I'm curious how they'll name it, because their naming scheme is more interesting than the movies themselves. So
I mean, they were thinking of it. Okay, John, if you go down to the photos, because basically the CMO of Universal. So here's the story: the Universal Pictures CMO, NBC Universal CMO, and Vin Diesel, which you see here behind Vin Diesel on his back. The shirt says Fast X Part 2. So there's your answer. It looks like they finally solved some issues they were having with regards to budgets and what Universal was willing to commit versus what, you know, Vin Diesel was wanting. And it looks like they're starting to do some creative work figuring out the details. They've solved some of the problems according to the CMO there. John, it looks like we're gonna be returning back to the streets of LA for one last ride with the family, because Fast X 11.
I don't have friends. I got family.
You were taking too long.
I know,
sorry.
I know.
just
I was
needed
trying to get there.
needed to do it.
Fast X Part 2 Electric Boogaloo, whatever you want to call it.
Hey, it could get renamed because me
Yes.
and my friends have a bet going on what the naming scheme is gonna be. So like, I have them. I think they're back there. But yeah, it's just it's.
Oh,
you
Gal
do
is
have
back. I don't know, Watcher. Did you see Fast X? Because Gal
No,
Gal
what the
Gadot's
fuck
already
would
back.
I've never seen a single Fast and Furious movie ever. And why the fuck would I see the shitty ones after they did a loving tribute to Paul Walker in the seventh one? Because all of them have sucked since then.
Okay, I would say Fast and Furious 8 was decent. Fast 9 and Furious, was it Furious? No, Fast 9
It was
and Fast
F9,
X.
and then it was
F9.
Fast X.
They were both terrible. But Gal Gadot's back. Literally every character that has died in this franchise has come back, and then they've added new family members to the Toretto family. So
Our family just got a whole lot bigger.
yes, exactly. It just keeps getting bigger every time. And at this point, I mean, they're probably Vin Diesel's gonna find like a couple of uncles. Is gonna be like Cheech and Chong, and then all of a sudden he's gonna find more brothers and sisters, and probably his like long lost father is gonna come back to life. I don't know who else is coming in at this point.
What's real is family.
Anyway. But yeah.
But it looks like they're greasing the wheels on this thing, John. They're getting back to work, and we might just get a proper conclusion to the franchise. Not to mention, there's still like a Rock spinoff with Jason Momoa in the works, right? Because
I don't
Rock had a
fucking know.
heel
I don't
turn in the
fucking
franchise.
care.
Anyway, all right.
Anyway,
the 11th movie.
Speaking of
in
things that have gone
Fast
on
and
way
Furious.
too long, Stranger Things. Someone already mentioned this in the chat, but apparently the season 5 finale will head to theaters as Netflix preps trailer release because it's going to be 2 hours long and it's going to be a full-length movie. And why didn't this piece of shit die fucking 3 seasons ago? Because goddamn, I'm so sick of this shit. I can't
John,
wait for this to fucking die.
I was gonna say, I think you weren't on the episode. We talked about the runtimes. Literally, in just part 1 of 3 of this final season, every episode is over an hour. There's like 2 or 3 of them are like almost 90 minutes. So I can't even imagine. Remember the last season? They had like a 2.5 hour finale episode. It was basically a movie. So why not put it in a movie theater? I'm okay with this.
I can't wait to see a bunch of 30-year-olds be like, friends don't lie to each other, because sure. And it's going to take place 18 months after season 4, because that's how they'll fucking explain, how they look so much older, how they look like fucking 40 at this point. So
it's the upside downs effect on the town of Hawkins. That's clearly what it is.
Honestly, if they explained it that way, I wouldn't mind as much, but I don't think they're gonna.
I feel like that's
explain
the
it
easy. That's just, it's right there. It's like right in front of us. Like that makes sense.
Right.
Anyway.
But yeah, that's dude, it's one last ride. We've been calling it one last ride for the past 4 movies. But
yeah, I mean, hey, look, Daniel Craig's James Bond was doing that for like 3 out of his 4 movies because he wanted to retire after his first movie, or at least his character. I know it was second movie, was it? Anyway, the joke has not landed, and we're done with quick hits in the news, guys. Which means, John, it's let me find that soundbite. Where is it? There it is.
Nope.
It's DC
Anyway.
time.
Yeah, sure. Let's
It's
go.
another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all in the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
Honka honka!
Cool. Oh, whoops. There we go. DC time. There we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to DCU Daily. Here we are. I'm John. Nice to see you. There we got Dan here. There we go. Dan, how you doing today?
I'm doing wonderfully well. I look forward to talking about all things DC, and then I promised you guys on the YouTube channel last night, I'll give you guys an update on the little bub, the corgi that sometimes is on the show, and how she's doing. She was in surgery today, and let's just say things are looking up for now, and I'll give you guys an update on that later. But John, we're here to talk about DC right now. There's a lot to get into, a lot of Zack Snyder stuff, some James Gunn stuff,
the inability to fucking let things fucking go. Zach, I don't know if you've seen the film Frozen, but there's a song in that movie, very famous song. It was the talk of the town for at least a year and a half. It's called Let It Go. I think you need to do that at this point. I think you need to just let things the fuck go. It's over, buddy. It's over. Like, again,
of course,
the Japanese soldier that fought 30 years after World War II ended. It's that vibe, buddy. Just let it die. I'm sorry.
Well, the context here is, as you see on the screen, Zack Snyder is continuing to enjoy his brand new Instagram account. And John, we actually not only have one, but two photos to share today, because I sent you another link. I know that you pulled it up.
Yes, I did put that in.
So after sharing that photo of Henry Cavill as Superman, he shared a photo of course, Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke, saying, thank you, Joe Manganiello, for being a perfect Deathstroke.
For all three lines.
Yeah, I was going to say
entire
for like
cinematic universe, but you know.
It wasn't for very long, but it makes for a good photo. I mean, it makes for a great photo, in fact.
If Zack Snyder spent as much time on his fucking photo shoots as he did on his movies, maybe he would have actually completed his vision. So, you know.
Yeah. But hey, John, there was a new photo he posted literally while we have been live. Let's get into that one there. Another look at Batman, the Nightmare Batman, yeah. Ben Affleck there.
But we're going to be talking about that because we're going to be talking about the suits, because our tier list Tuesday is about bat suits. So don't worry, guys. We have 27 for you. I have the list here. Oh, you can really quickly see it. Oh, there it goes. Haha. And you can go back and pause it if you want it. But
hi, PLO.
Hello, Plo.
For what it's worth, I don't think if Netflix were to buy Warner Brothers after the split next year, that they would bring Zack Snyder in to do much, because Zack Snyder's actually back on the Warner Brothers lot these days working on other things. And if they were to bring him back, I think James Gunn would still be around. So, John, what were you saying before? What should Zack Snyder do?
Let it go.
Yeah. Let it go. Let it go.
Anyway,
something more. Anyway, I don't think this is here's the thing. Can I just
I don't actually think. I think he's just reminiscing. He's like, I gotta break in my new Instagram account with these cool photos, so that's what I'm doing. I'm just
gonna point out something.
It's easy to take the piss out of Snyder because it gets all the haters in here and all that stuff.
I do wonder though, like, because here's the thing: Zack Snyder is not. I think, by the way, D. Cole is watching a little bit behind. Because anyway, Zack Snyder's he's more aware of the social media world around him. I mean, hence being on Instagram and such, and formerly on Vero, that he knows the discourse that takes place when he does stuff like this. When I say stuff like this, he just goes on Instagram and posts a couple of photos that he really is proud of, which anybody, should be able to, any creative should be able to share their artwork, right? So having said that, I do wonder sometimes if he gets a giggle out of the chaos that it causes, even though he knows more than probably anybody else. I mean, not only his own intentions, obviously, but the fact that the DCEU is firmly in the past, and even if some new entity were to step in,
I don't know if Bass Reeves is still watching, but he's like, I want the long form receipt that the Snyderverse is dead. There you go. I'm bringing this back from 2 years ago. Zack Snyder says he would only come back if it's for a Dark Knight Returns adaptation, not for anything DCEU related, not anything part of that. That's it. Just saying, that's the receipt. He's not coming back. I'm sorry, but
yeah. But like Eco said, I feel like having those set of characters return in some sort of a Kingdom Come or like a Crisis storyline, I'm okay with that. I just don't think we're anywhere close to doing something like that with the DCU. They got to first establish the universe that we have now and get these characters. You can't introduce an alternate universe Batman before you introduce your own Batman. But even the Henry Cavill photo, John, got some really interesting reactions. Not to mention, like, the most liked comment said what? It said,
Girl move on.
Girl move on. That had what, like 11,000 likes or something. That's great.
Yeah, like 10,922. Yeah. So, girl, move on.
I mean, we love a great Henry Cavill photo. Don't get us wrong.
Don't get me wrong. It is a good looking photo, but
and if you were to ask me, and I think Monique will second this thought, I just think Henry Cavill is a more handsome gentleman than David Cornsweet. No offense to David Cornsweet. This is obviously a very subjective opinion, but I'm just gonna go out there on a limb and say Henry Cavill. The hairline maybe not as impressive as David Cornsweet, but Henry Cavill is definitely.
That's the formula for that fucking hairline.
Yeah, a more handsome dude. But anyway, that doesn't mean the Superman that we got now is bad. I feel like a lot of people love the new Superman, so let's stick with that direction, see how it goes, and.
Yes.
Here we're getting another Superman related adjacent movie, Man of Tomorrow, in a couple of years. So I'm sure that will do great. And we'll get into more of
I think the black and I like black and white. I think people need to stop with the color because maybe everything is black and white and brown and shitty nowadays. So like, everybody's black and white now.
There were a few people out there who were posting, like somebody went in and colored the Henry Cavill photo so you can see it in full color, like with the colors that were on set, which is fine. So if you do want to look for that and you want that photo in color, you can find it. The Henry Cavill one, at least. I don't know about the Batman, the Batfleck Batman, or the Deathstroke one. So, but hey, I'm sure we'll get into more. By the way, some of you guys are probably wondering. James Gunn did a bunch of interviews today with a lot of other fan sites, like Screen Crush and stuff. We will get into some of those insights later on. We're not going to talk about them today because they only, those only dropped like in the last few hours. So we'll get into the ramifications of whatever, all the things that James Gunn talked about. He didn't give away much. I think he's somewhat addressed the uncertainty around like any kind of a sale of Warner Brothers Discovery, which anybody would. We mentioned that, there's no guarantees if a new company comes in and takes over Warner Brothers, whether it is Paramount, Apple, Amazon, whoever, they'll have their own set of plans for what they want to do with DC and everything else that Warner Brothers has, like HBO and such. But it doesn't guarantee that, they'll be kicking James Gunn out the door on day one, if at all. So, but there is a little bit of uncertainty there. There always will be. That's just the nature of mergers and acquisitions. So we'll get into more of that. And we talked a lot about it earlier in the show if you guys want to rewind and check that out. But anyway, John, let's keep on going here. We got a few character anniversaries.
Got a lot of anniversaries today. A lot of it is from James Gunn himself. So many anniversaries. The first one is Penguin. So apparently happy anniversary to the Penguin, who debuted way back in 1941. Very different kind of villain, but still a very good one, co-created by Bill Finger. That's the only Batman creator we care about in this household. But yeah, looking back on the wonderful
the Penguin,
who recently got his own miniseries or maybe TV show if they want to continue that. Really,
John,
mixing the flavors here.
My question to you would be, was Oscobb mixing the flavors back in the day because it just tasted better, or was that a more recent innovation?
I think that was a recent innovation.
Gotcha.
But love to see it. Love to see the Penguin. Yes, thank you, Caleb. That's what I was insinuating. But absolutely love to see it because Penguin is definitely one of the best Batman villains of all time, and Colin Farrell did a wonderful job with it. But not the only one today, but we got two heroes. The next two are heroes as opposed to the Penguin's villainy. Apparently Wonder Woman, the third part of the DC Trinity. And over her lifetime, she's married a Birdman from another planet, shattered the moon, been turned into a gorilla, been a UN ambassador, and so much more. That's living. Happy anniversary to the great Amazonian warrior of Wonder Woman, William Moulton Marston's character, known by Charles Moulton here, but we absolutely love to see it because Wonder Woman she's the Trinity. She's part of the Trinity. She is, just as popular as Batman and Superman, but not given the time of day until recently. So at least on the big screen live action.
By the way, John, I don't think we've talked about it on the show. The absolute Wonder Woman design is amazing, but also the whole trinity of the absolute, well, I guess the absolute trinity is going to be showing up together in the DCKO event. That looked pretty cool.
Yeah, no, we did briefly talk about that, I think, the other day, but yeah, awesome to see.
Okay, Caleb, we see where you're getting at. But Wonder Woman, I think, is one of those iconic. She's definitely like the most well-known female superhero of all time. So I think the Watcher's making a good point. We do need a Wonder Woman Day. We definitely do.
Today, happy Wonder Woman Day. I'm retroactively making a Wonder Woman Day. Boom, there we go. October 21st. There you go. All right, cool. Boom, perfect.
Yeah. Absolute Catwoman is also an amazing. There's some amazing design work that they showcase at New York Comic Con.
I just hate the mirror Mysterio helmet that Catwoman has. The rest of it looks great, but like that just looks dumb to me.
Let's keep on going.
Anyway, so the last bit is Jon Stewart. So happy anniversary to Jon Stewart, the Green Lantern, not the talk show host, but I can't wait for you to see Aaron Pierre play him in Lanterns on HBO, but we can't wait to see him either. The fact that he has not gotten a live action appearance yet is bullshit. Well, he almost did in Justice League, but then DC was like, nah, fam. And he's like, well, shit. So now we have Aaron Pierre as the first real live action iteration of Jon Stewart. Well, unless there was like Legends of the Superheroes or like an SNL bit with him. But yeah. Yeah, don't worry. We still have Tier List Tuesday to talk about. Yeah. That's probably going to be a long one. So yes, we will be getting into Guy a little bit later, but yeah, happy anniversary to all three of these heroes and villain. Love to see it because love to celebrate the past and these wonderful characters outside of the movies and TV shows, just celebrating the character in and of itself. So hell yeah. That is true, but it's spelled Jon, the loser way of spelling John. So Jon Stewart spells it the correct way. So but yeah, but we do actually have a little bit to talk about in terms of Aaron Pierre as Green Lantern, in terms of our last major story wise. Apparently Aaron Pierre, I mean, I think we can all agree with this. Aaron Pierre says Lanterns has been a long time coming. Yes, I think most definitely. But it was kind of a little interview in regards to, just Aaron Pierre talking about how the character finally appearing and all that stuff and what this is. But it's been a long time coming for many fans and supporters, and I truly hope with all my heart that we make everybody proud. I think you will. I think this image single-handedly proved that, yeah, you can play Jon Stewart. And I hope so. I don't know, it would be the worst, but I don't think he can handle it now because he's like in his 60s, but we'll see.
I wouldn't mind Jon Stewart taking up the ring.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath on that part, but we'll see.
John's gonna get into it deep. We got 27 different bat suits to talk about on Tier List Tuesday.
Oh yeah, some more than others because some are pretty obvious, but this kind of just goes into like the stuff in regards to Lanterns, how it has like a more earth-based feel, how talking about various things. God, this fucking headline is just really, there we go. Okay, I'm sorry, that was just really annoying me. But it's it's been confirmed that Guy is gonna appear. Nathan Fillion is gonna reprise his role. He's gonna be that this version of the character would be higher strung. He said, I think I said the most F-bombs in this show than I have in my entire career. So but yeah, so even though we don't have a premiere date for Lanterns, it's probably gonna show up before Supergirl, because they said it's probably gonna be April, May, right before Supergirl comes out. So
yeah, I think we talked about it. There's going to be 8 episodes, and it's most likely going to premiere probably in the lead up to Supergirl coming out, right? I think we mentioned like April probably sounds like a good timeline, April or May. That way, by the time it finishes airing, it's either overlapping with Supergirl's release timeline or it's just before. And obviously behind the scenes at that point, they'll be shooting Man of Tomorrow. They'll be filming The Batman Part 2. So DC is going to be plenty busy. And if they greenlit another show or two, I mean, hey, we might be eating real good, not just in 2026, but also 2027. So, John, what are you highlighting there? It's
just like essentially get the fuck out of my way. Just Aaron Pierre talking about the character, talking about the core, and talking about Green Lantern stuff. So yeah, just like him just talking about how much he loves the characters and what.
Yeah, he didn't give away any details, although the fan theories out there about how Salvation ties into the center storyline, which again is complete speculation based on that set gift to the wrap up gift that everybody got from the crew of Lanterns. I don't know if they're gonna go the center route. I feel like we were reading, like we were just looking for
that is true. We'll be talking about that tomorrow because it
or
dropped
meaning
right before and we didn't have time to talk about it.
Yeah, we will get into, again, these are some of the revelations James Gunn had on those interviews.
Honka Peacemaker, I'm here controlling Salvation.
You know what would be epic though, if Salvation was kind of like what they did in Loki or in Deadpool and Wolverine, like this planet or dimension where all the discarded characters go, and that's how maybe they bring the DCEU characters back in, or maybe Grant Gustin's Flash shows up for a I don't think James Gunn will cameo bait us like that, but that could potentially work. Yeah, that would be interesting. I just think we were reading too much into that whole Green Lantern logo though. I'm not gonna put it past James Gunn to bring in the center and tie it into Salvation and all that. What bothers me is he mentioned on one of those threads questions from the fans that there's no guarantee that Peacemaker is gonna be in Man of Tomorrow, which makes me a little more curious as to where he's next gonna show up at all. Because if he's not gonna be in Man of Tomorrow, is the Checkmate show one of those things that's further along than we are being led to believe? But hey, Lanterns is coming out. At this point, it's months away. I can't wait for them to put out a trailer, give us a date. I'm surprised they haven't given us a date, but it's a TV show, so a lot of times they'll hold off on that until they really have everything in place. So right now, as far as we know, they're still in post-production. So
yes,
if there's any other updates, we'll definitely bring that to you guys.
But bit of a funnier note to end on in terms of Lanterns is Nathan Fillion absolutely just fucking cutting a jig right here and just showing that he is,
I swear to God,
very flexible.
To me, like, this looked like a Sora video. Like, I did not think this was real, because I'm like, this dude is what, like 50? And he's like more flexible than like probably, I don't know. He looked more flexible than Isabella Merced in that clip right there. I was not expecting Castle to have these moves at that age.
Apparently he has them in the Rookie as well, but
apparently, although not the same. I mean, come on, he's not moving those hips the same way in that Rookie.
Staying loose and limber is an absolute must for any Lantern. Mark my words. But I love
Enterprising is not a hot take if Brainiac was never the villain of Man of Tomorrow in the first place. Now, is it? So,
there has been rumors, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. So,
John has read the supposed leaked scripts. I wonder what those say. I still think, Guy Gardner ain't gonna make it out of Lanterns alive, as much as we love Nathan Fillion being in the DCU. I don't know. I'm just saying. But anyway, let's keep on going.
But that's it. There's nothing to keep on going. Well, we'll keep on going into Tier List Tuesday, but that is it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it. Oh, actually, before we finish, I know I promised this to you guys yesterday on YouTube on the community post section. I put up this long-winded post, but essentially, you guys might have noticed every once in a while we have got this really cute corgi. Fiona's doggy, and I've kind of fallen in love with her right alongside Fiona, and we usually have her on the show whenever we can, and she's cuddling up. You probably saw her very recently, I think like a week ago. It's been now a few weeks. We found out that she had a brain tumor, and so she was on special medication in the lead up to a surgery. Today she had her surgery, and that's what I mentioned yesterday on the channel. And I haven't been on the show as often of late because we have to keep an eye on her 24/7 because of the meds that she's been on. So now that she's gone through surgery, she's in the recovery phase. Things did go well, so that's the good news. And we'll find out more tomorrow. The overnight, this is the time where they're keeping a close eye on her at the animal hospital. So we're all hoping that Zelda will come back to us just as cute and stronger and healthier than ever. And so I'll keep you guys posted on that. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that because it's been one of the reasons why I haven't been on the show. But obviously Zelda's health comes first. So, but thank you guys for being very, very patient with me along the way. Of course, John has been here and filling in a lot and taking over, and of course Liz has been here as well. So hopefully we'll see Liz later this week. But John, with that. Yeah, thank you for sending your best wishes and good vibes for Zelda. She's not out of the woods yet, but we will keep you posted on how things are going there. So, yeah, we got Tier List Tuesday coming up, John. Bat suits, that's what we're getting into. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So, yeah. All right. On that note, John, I believe we should wrap it up, shall we?
Yes, most definitely. But thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. We're going to move on to Tier List Tuesday. Try to be as quick. Yes. Try to be as quick as we can because God knows it's going to be a long one. So we will see. But thank you for all the best wishes for the mascot of Oh So Curious. But anything else, Stan, that you'd like to say?
I think much like James Gunn would say, hopefully Zelda is blessed from the beginning because we know the DCU has certainly been blessed from the beginning. So
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you really I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all in the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto. Hunka hunka!
Fuck Jeff Snyder and fuck David Zaslav too.